On this episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive, we are driving, we are piloting a rocket ship.
This is the 2025 Mercedes-AMG GT63, and while this model has been around for a while now, this latest car is a completely new generation. Accordingly, it has a lot of new tech which we'll cover here today. It starts at about $175,000, and this one, with a few choice options including this incredible paint, is up to $210,000. I'm going to fill you in on all the details of this latest generation car, and we'll end with, most importantly, a road drive so you can hear this engine sing.
Where do we even start with the looks of the GT? Now, this is certainly enhanced by the color. This is called Hyper Blue Magno. And look, it's a great looking car in general, but I think relatively forgettable in something like silver. I've had so many comments driving this around and looks with this color. It's sort of this aqua matte color, and it absolutely pops on this car. So get it in a fun color because they make it in several. Now this is about a $3,000 or $4,000 option, but I think when you're spending $175,000 plus, it is well worth getting a fun color. But it has excellent proportions, super long hood, like a classic GT car. The headlights look great, the taillights look great. They have this 3D depth to them. You're on 21-inch wheels here, which some people may like, some people may hate. I personally tend to like them. And this one specifically has massive carbon ceramic brakes behind those wheels. I think that this is a fantastic looking car outside of maybe the sort of gaudy Mercedes logo up front. But what do you think? Leave a comment below. Here's an AMG product that Mercedes continues to do right. This is a V8 engine. It's a hot V with twin turbos in the center, and it makes 577 horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot in today's day and age, but I promise you, when we go for a drive, this thing feels extremely underrated. It feels so much faster than that figure would suggest. It has 590 pound-feet of torque, and this is, of course, the base version. You can get the Pro, you can get the hybrid version, which makes even more power, but this is what it starts at. It's paired with a 9-speed automatic transmission, and the big news really for this generation is that this is standard all-wheel drive. No more rear-wheel drive like the previous generation, and that is a bit of a big change. Now, this also gets an electronic limited slip, and we've already mentioned the composite brakes. So it's definitely capable. We're gonna see what it's like out on the road, but let's talk fuel economy briefly first. 13 city, 20 on the highway. Mercedes has been getting a lot of flack for their interiors as of late, and you know what, rightfully so. A lot of the sort of cheaper Mercedes, even though none of them are very cheap, have a ton of piano black and they kind of creak when you push on things in the interior. That is not the case here. Yeah, there's a little bit of piano black here and there in this interior, but it doesn't dominate the experience, and overall it's a really nice design. And you know what, outside of just the fact that there is a big screen here, it is fairly usable, at least more usable than the EQS I got out of not too long ago. So once again, the design, the choice of materials, it feels like a nice quality leather. I like these sort of turbo spinny air vent type things that are going on. There are some things that are frustrating in here to use though, things like adjusting the volume. You have this sort of haptic touch on the steering wheel, which doesn't work that well. There's one here as well. You know, just give me a knob. This interior would benefit greatly from more knobs, buttons, and switches, but this is the world that we live in now. And once again, it's not the end of the world. It's not a deal breaker. This screen, you know, it does work and respond fairly well. It connects to my phone well. And, you know, the HVAC controls are at least at the bottom here. You do have to go digging for some things like lumbar support. You have to go digging through all these menus to get there, which is frustrating. So there is some stuff about this experience that is annoying, but there's other things that are really nice, like this car has front axle lift, and there's a physical button to get to be able to adjust that. And also it remembers the setting of front axle lift by GPS. So when I get home, I have a very steep driveway, it automatically lifts the car. That is rather nice. Now moving on to things like the steering wheel, really nice. I mean, this is a fantastic version of the new kind of AMG wheel. Really thick rim, feels substantial in your hand. And I do like these dials on the bottom here. You can use this bottom right dial to adjust your custom modes. And then on the left here, there are two different options for sort of your hotkeys. You can adjust the loudness of the exhaust on the fly. You can adjust manual or automatic. It just gives you kind of a couple abilities over there, which is really nice. Now the drive modes, you press this AMG button and you can adjust them. You have your own individual mode. My personal take is, you know, aggressive as possible in the powertrain, comfort in terms of the suspension, which we'll talk more about as we go for a drive, and then aggressive once again for like the traction control, stability control. But it is nice that it allows you to do that. Of course, there's built-in comfort, sport plus race, all those things. But having your own customized setting is rather nice. Now, in terms of these seats, there is a nicer version of these seats, which I would probably go for. I don't find these terribly comfortable. They're not uncomfortable. They do hold you in quite well, and they're adjustable in a million different ways. But something about, I don't know, just the size and shape doesn't fit me exactly well. Maybe it will fit you better. So it's one of those things like maybe just go and sit in it. Now, most importantly, of course, we need to take this thing for a ride, but let's talk about some of the other features in terms of storage in this vehicle.
We need to talk about these deployable door handles. They look great, but man, they have a mind of their own. They seem to pick and choose when they want to deploy, and I find that very frustrating. Besides the annoying door handles, this car is very livable on a daily basis since the back hatch provides a ton of space. Hell, it even has back seats. You'd have to chop someone's legs off to get back there, but they exist. As always, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure you're hitting that like and subscribe button so you don't miss future content.
We're gonna start with something with this car. It's gotta be the engine. What even is this car? Oh my gosh. This engine, there is zero chance, absolutely zero chance it makes less than 600 horsepower. This thing, rated at 577, there is absolutely no way, specifically because of how much this weighs and how fast it accelerates. It is mind-boggling. I talked about on the intro, we're piloting a rocket ship, and that is absolutely the case here. This thing is nuts. Just the number, the needle, the speedometer, just it's like you can't even comprehend. And I know I'm like going on about this and it's only 577 horsepower, but it feels so much faster than that. Pulls like an absolute freight train, makes incredible noises. You get the pops when you let off, you get the pops on the shift. It's very classic AMG, and they have not ruin that here. It's there's a lot of AMG products which frankly they have ruined, and that's not what it all has happened here. Incredible engine. Now let's talk about the GT part before we get back into the fun part of the handling, the at limit characteristics of transmission. This is, I just want to be very clear, GT is in the name kind of for a reason, because it's a GT car. It's look, the weight is bad, and we'll talk about how it affects it dynamically, but you get a very solid feeling to this car. So while it does weigh a bajillion pounds, it's screwed together very well, and that is in contrast to a lot of Mercedes I've been in recently, which I'm sure Mercedes would not like me to say that, but look, they're lower tier products, even though they're still very expensive and they're Mercedes, they don't feel like that German build quality. They have cheap plastics, they creak. This thing doesn't, man. You could just push on it in places and it just feels very solid. The way the leather smells very good. It's definitely very much a GT car. Now, where do you notice the weight most? It's under braking. It doesn't, even though we have these carbon ceramic brakes, because this car goes so fast and then there's 4,400 pounds hurling through the air, it doesn't stop as fast as you want it to just in distance, but also it's like a bit of a handful under braking. It sort of, yeah, it just kind of squirms around, and that's not something that you want under braking. Like cars that have at-limit characteristics of handling, where, you know, maybe it's a bit twitchy, or, you know, think of like the old 911 Widowmakers, where it's like if you lift off mid-corner, you're gonna spin that thing. Those have character in a certain way, but from a driving perspective, you could say like, well, if you're a good driver, it's not a problem. Like having a bit of squirminess under braking is not necessarily ideal. That's really where I notice the weight. But like as we go around these twisties, and we're in a very tight road, obviously, you somehow don't notice the weight. I really don't know how it's possible. It turns in so sharp. There's absolutely no feeling, but we're sort of over that at this point, right? Like we don't expect sports cars to have feeling in the steering wheel anymore, but the turn-in is super quick, very accurate, and it just like, it hunkers down. Now, I think most of it is the fact that this has all-wheel drive, and there's really no dramas when you're coming out of a turn. It never wags its tail out, so in that way it's kind of boring. But it is incredibly capable. It's sort of like the original Nissan GT-R, because now we're getting these brakes hot. You hear those carbon ceramics? It's sort of like the original GT-R, where it just punishes the world to submit to its physics. That car was, you know, very heavy for its time frame. This car is very heavy, but yet it just like has power, it has grip for days, and it does things that, like I said, it just does them. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel great, you know, winding through these twisties with this car. It feels very fast, and that is exhilarating, but there's not a lot of character going on behind the wheel that makes you feel like that you're doing that you're responsible. The car is just kind of like point and squirt. And, you know, a lot of people look to that. So if you're looking for something like that, where it's just confidence and speed, this is it. This is absolutely fantastic. But if you want something that has a little more driving character to it, a little more feels like you are doing the driving, then, you know, you probably want to look elsewhere. But what it can do in a back road is insane. Now, we should talk about this transmission. I actually really like it. It's a 9-speed, which sort of doesn't really matter the number of gears. And it's relatively smooth around town for what it is. Like, it's a little bit jerky at low speeds, but up here, like when you're on a windy road and you're pushing it, it is so quick to respond, and it also gives you this feeling of being shot out of a cannon. It like punches you when you're full throttle shifting. So not only do you feel that forward momentum of this sort of like over rev type transmission shifting thing, it's hard to describe, but you feel that, you hear it in the exhaust. It gives you like a pop and a crackle, and then the turbo engine just like shoots you out of a cannon. That's the best way I can describe it. Golly. But it's so fast that it's, like I said, the brakes. It's so fast that you can kind of put yourself in some dicey situations, because it accelerates to insane numbers so quickly that you got to be careful. You gotta brake early, is all I'm saying. But I mean, like, look, this thing is incredible. Where the other place that you notice the weight. While the car does ride really well, it's a GT car and I feel like it has a GT ride. It's adjustable, so you can make it firmer, you can make it softer. I have my own individualized setting where you can say, you know, I want the engine and transmission in like full race, and you know, the dynamic handling in terms of like traction control and stuff, you know, I want that in sport, and I put the suspension into comfort, because of all this weight, you do feel these hard surfaces quite a bit. So really you kind of want the suspension as loosened up as possible to not punish you. And it doesn't punish you. Once again, you do feel the resonance through the body. Just, it's like when it's 4,400 pounds, they have to use pretty heavy springs, but it's not punishing by any means. And it feels like a GT car, and it's very comfortable. It's certainly more comfortable than my GT3 is. So all of these things point to, they made a purpose-built vehicle for what it is for. It's a GT car. It is not a track weapon. I mean, you can put crazy times out on the track just because it will make the world submit to its own physics, but it's not like, you know, you're gonna feel a lot of satisfaction out of getting those lap times. It's just sort of like driving a video game around. But look, I'm super impressed with this thing. This makes me want to look at kind of like those older models, because I love and adore this engine. But this thing, like I said, is an absolute weapon. And if you have the money and you're looking for something that is comfortable and fast and looks good with this color, look, you could do way worse than buying one of these. This thing is awesome. If you made it this far in the video, guys, thank you very much. This is what I like to do. I like to do performance cars. So finally got a really nice performance car to feature here. If you made it this far in the video, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you've been around for a while, thanks for tuning in. Let's go for a rip. Oh my God, dude. It will hold a gear too. That is one thing that you could say about it. See you guys.
It's like impossible to be smooth. It's like the amount of torque. Jesus.
A quick shout out to my boy Marty, aka Mr. Curiosity on YouTube. He helped me get some of these rollers, so we got a little better content for this video. So give him a follow and check out his latest videos.